Hello. Welcome to the 6th part of the Boundless Necromancer. A special thanks to my Patreon for supporting me. And if you want to support, you can join my Patreon for as low as $1. Thank you very much. Let's begin. At the beginning of this part we see that Count says, "Did you think you could kill me? Not a chance." Sungyun says, "Curious." Sungyun gets really excited and says, "I'm curious. How many times do I need to slaughter you before you really die?" Count thinks, Sel Nair, I'm getting scared. He gets really angry and says, "Don't look down on me. I am the man who will become the vampire king." Sungyun cuts him to pieces and says, "Third." Count says, "Don't think you're winning just because you're inflicting pain on me." Sungyun kills him and says, "Fouth." Count says, "It's useless, you're not a real warrior. You have no way to kill me." Sungyun kills him again and says, "Fifth." Count says, "As long as you're human, you will not be able to escape the physical laws. You will soon tire and collapse." Sungyun kills him again and says, "Sixth." And seventh. Count says, "Were you really that legendary warrior? How is it that you're using mana like this and not tiring?" Sungyun cuts him to pieces and says, "8. System says, you have received the achievement Artist of the Battlefield. Activating skill torture technique rank D-. Shall I do sliced meat of ground meat?" Count starts to run and thinks, he's a monster. Let's escape for now. Sungyun appears right beside him and says, "I told you. I'll return all the words that you've said." Sungyun smiles and says, "With whose permission? I will now let you go." Count says, "You crazy. Devilish bastard. Stop. I'll negotiate." "Yes, let's negotiate." "No, let's make a deal." Sungyun kills him again and says, "Ninth." Count says, "I'll do anything you want." He kills him again and says, "10th." Count says, "I told you I'll give you anything. I'll give you all the wealth and honor you want." Sungyun kills him 11th time. He says, "Just kill me. I can't live like this." Sungyun kills him 12th time. Count says, "You're not a warrior. You're just a rotten devilish murderer." System says, "You have obtained the achievement Beginning of Lunacy. Skill Amplified Pain rank D- activated." Count starts to cry and says, "Stop, I give up. I will pledge everything to you." Sungyun says, "Can you just shut up and die? How many times are you gonna regenerate?" Sungyun thinks of something and gives an evil smile. Sungyun says to Count, "Kid, come this way." Count come running toward him and says, "Yes sir." Sungyun says, "There is one way for you to escape this pain. If you cooperate, I'll grant you the blessing of death. What do you think?" Count says, "What must I do?" System says, "Skill Counter Shield activated. A transformed counter shield, aka Counter Scarecrow." Sungyun says, "This. Until I tell to stop, hit it." Sungyun says, "Why aren't you hitting it yet? Do you want to live?" Count starts to hit and says, "I'll hit it." Count thinks, the series of events that happened today, from the beginning to the end, all of it. I can't understand them. There were no signs for this crazy human to suddenly appear and annihilate the strongest force in history, the vampires. No matter how I think of it, something's strange. Perhaps a trial of the gods. Yeah. In the first place, a human having a blood domination ability was strange. Because we vampires became lax, they wanted to tighten discipline. This must be the savior of the vampires who wanted to train us to be more on guard. System says, "Skill Counter Shield can now counter the accumulated damage." Sungyun says, "Okay, enough. Then it's now time to die." Count sees him and thinks savior. As if. Sungyun says, "If you live no matter how many times I kill you." Sungyun throws his sword toward him and System says, "Skill Counter Shield has released all absorbed damage at once. I can just vaporize you so not a piece of meat remains." Count says, "I can finally die." A really big explosion happens. System says, "Congratulations, you have completed the 13th floor of the Tower of Trials. You pass reward random skill book rank A+. Has been transmitted to your inventory. You have obtained the pass reward of 90,000 points. You have obtained the pass reward of 4,000 SP. As an additional reward, 5,000 SP has been obtained. Please move to the waiting room." Sungyun smiles and thinks, I succeeded in killing him. Then, I can now absorb the blood that Sel Nair has spilled. With blood consumption, if you designate and kill a target with Heavenly Blood Demonic Sword, You can absorb the target's blood with the blade and increase the abilities of the overall item as well as engrave a random skill. System says, True Heavenly Blood Demonic Swords Exclusive Skill Blood Consumption activated. By absorbing the blood of Vampire Count Selnair, your item's rank has grown to a -300 by 1400. By absorbing the blood of Vampire Count Selnair, engraved skill strengthened blood rank C+. Has been engraved in blood consumption's exclusive slot. A skill window appears saying, blood consumption slot 1 by 3. Engraved skill strengthened blood C+. Engraved skill description, with the skill you absorbed from Vampire Count Selnair you can strengthen the blood within the blood domination domain. Engraved skill effect, if you use mana and strengthen the blood within the blood domination domain, durability and control are strengthened. System says, True Heavenly Blood Demonic Swords Engraved Skill Strengthened Blood C+, activated. Sungyun thinks, Vampire Count, a blood domination skill that's greater than his. This is, as if I've become the Vampire King. Not bad. Although the downside is that I might receive some misunderstanding. System says, you have absorbed the Vampire Count Selnair's spirit and permanently increased your abilities. Strength has increased by 5. Agility has increased by 4. Stamina has increased by 6. Magic power has increased by 7. Durability has increased by 5. You have captured the divinity within Vampire Count Selnair's spirit. Conditions of authority divine power have been met and the ability is activating. Attempting divinity extraction. Sungyun sees that and thinks, divinity extraction. I saw this message once when absorbing the replica's spirit. Divinity extraction succeeded. Authority divine power rank B- Oz risen in rank. When you accumulate myths through authority divine power rank B, the class will rapidly increase. I didn't know back then. But the condition of divinity extraction was whether or not the spirit possessed divine power. Judging from the fact that you can't extract divinity from normal vampires. Perhaps it only applies to those with divine power on the same level as mine. There are too many things that are ambiguous. Every time something related to divine power pops up, it's a damn headache. System says, absorbing one of the skills of Vampire Count Selnair. You have absorbed skill Charisma rank C-. He thinks Charisma. System says, since you're absorbing a spirit stronger than the user, the authority extraction's adjudication will begin. Sungyun says, an enemy you can't handle, a strong enemy, just what's with these judgment standards? Are these judgments biased? Sungyun thinks, but it's not as if I don't have any idea. Spirits that are related to gods, or disciples are judged as high class. System says, adjudication success. It has been confirmed that Vampire Count Selnair's spirit possesses authority. Extraction spirits. Authority. Authority Harvest of Faith rank C+ is engraved into user Han Sungyun's soul. Sungyun thinks, Harvest of Faith. Ninja comes to him and says, Han Sungyun. The clerics were using a protection authority to protect the people. More people are alive than we expected. To think he defeated the Vampire Count alone. So you were the hero. To think the hero would come himself. The gods have not forsaken us. Representative of the great God. Thank you for extending your saving hand to us. Authority Harvest of Faith has sensed a strong faith towards the user. A lot of people appears there and Sungyun sees them and says, the people are sending faith to me. So even faith that's sent through delusion is considered faith. I need to use this opportunity I've been given well. System says, skill Charisma rank C- activated. System says, your presence has gotten greater, and the others are receiving a greater influence. But I didn't lie. System says, you have received the achievement I didn't lie. Your magic power has increased by 1. Authority Harvest of Faith has activated greatly. Harvesting the nearby faith towards you. Authority Divine Power has activated greatly. Calculating the myth based on the actual results compared to the believer's faith. Myth Eradicator of Vampires complete. System says, the effect Recovery Impossible will now adhere to divine attacks. The effect Exorcism will now adhere to divine attacks. Because I ended the Vampire Count's cycle of infinite recovery, I earned the effect Recovery Impossible. And because I massacred the vampires of the city, I gained the effect Exorcism. Sungyun says, interesting. Now I finally know what myth accumulation is actually like. The harvest of faith I earned in tandem with the authority divine power in the form of myths. New authorities are created within authorities. Seeing how the divine power, which I didn't use until now, is steadily being output. It seems that when I activate myths, the divine power which has taken place in my heart is consumed. System says, there are not enough fables and faith for base. The accumulated faith will be reserved for the next myth. I think it's finished harvesting the people's faith for now. System says, authority harvest of faith deactivated. Sungyun thinks, so this floor has ended safely too. Wizard and Sungyun stays behind and Wizard says, I thought you were an immature fool. But I overlooked your abilities. Will you accept my apology? Sungyun says, of course. System says, the god of battle has realized that his prospective disciple has died. The god of battle has sensed your existence. The god of battle he sensed your divine power and is bearing animosity. Sungyun feels a lot of pressure and falls to one of his knees. Wizard asks, what's wrong? Sungyun thinks, the god of battle. The ground starts to crumble. System says, you have entered the divine domain. Sungyun thinks, what is this situation? The trials are definitely over. Wizard sees his portal to the other side of Lava Lake. Wizard says, my portal. Sungyun says, British wizard a juicy. Let's shake hands once more. Sungyun throws him toward the portal. Wizard thinks, he's quite unsophisticated. But his solution definitely work. There's some people stuck. Sungyun gets to them and says, stand aside. And he activates counter shield. Wizard sees him and thinks, whether he's a soldier or not, I don't know. But in this heartless world, if a hero still exists, wouldn't he look like that? I hope you return safely as well. Earth's hero. Sungyun creates a bridge of people to walk over the lava lake. Sungyun says to them, I can't maintain this for long. Please cross the bridge quickly. I had been hoping, but they aren't releasing any more faith. I wasted time. I need to enter the portal too. The god of battle is feeling disgust at the fact that a mere mortal possesses divinity. Everyone's head starts to hurt really bad and their head explodes. System says, the god of battle is saying that a dog that the tower raised has crossed the line. Sungyun gets angry and says, crossed the line. Sungyun says, you're the one who crossed the line just now. As long as I have the tower's protection, if you interfere with me any further, you'll be in trouble, won't you? If you have nothing else to say, I'm leaving. The god of battle sends you a ferocious smile. I need to get even better. System says, the god of battle is saying that he can't wait for the soon coming mortal's end. So that even the gods won't be able to treat me recklessly. System says, you have entered the 14th floor's waiting room. System expanding. Items specific to floor invading added to contractor's exclusive store. Halo strengthening item added to contractor's exclusive store. Several wonder drug items added to contractor's exclusive store. Sungyun thinks, it's a space the tower created anyway. It's useless to get emotionally charged from something that I don't know is even real. The god of battle right. To think I have a bad relationship with a god of all people. Do not trust the other gods. They will now consider you their enemy. He thinks, so this was what would happen in the end. Let's stop thinking about stuff that I have no control over. And just do what I can. Sungyun takes of his coat. And opens contractor's exclusive store. SP 11,500. You have purchased authority, Path of the Blademaster rank S. Deducting 10,000 SP. An authority window appears saying, authority, Path of the Blademaster rank S. Price 10,000 SP. Description, among those who fall under the contradiction of getting stronger to survive and living to get stronger, this is an authority that those who use swords occasionally get. You can develop an independent skill in regard to swords, and it becomes easier to manifest independent enlightenment. He enters the forest. Administrator is sitting there. She says, it's been a while Sungyun. Administrator says, I heard from that woman. That you have the Namgong clan's child as your enemy. Sungyun says, yes, somehow, that's what happened. Administrator says, it must be because of Namgong Hyuk that you used your special points to buy my authority. Correct. Administrator says, then you definitely made a good decision. Because, if we use a commonly used expression, you're a genius, Sungyun. Since without even knowing the proper enlightenment passages, you instinctually learned the forms of swordsmanship, and already exceeded the domain of imitation. Further, on the 12th floor's trial, you already identified the sword intent and even improved your swordsmanship itself to dual blade swordsmanship. Sungyun thinks, I'm just a little good at copying. Administrator says, you already have Grandmaster material from the fact that you could improve by partially learning the Namgong clan's basic moves. Sungyun says, Grandmaster. Administrator says, I'm saying it wouldn't be strange if you were the first of the sects to establish a sword sect. Administrator says, to that degree. You made a good decision with the authority you chose this time. Since now everything you learn and realize will be certified by the tower. I'll teach you everything. But, I have a condition. You need to have a master-student relationship with me. Sungyun says, alright, I'll become your student, master. Administrator says, Sungyun, I'm not trying to coerce you into anything. You can think about it me. Sungyun says, no, I will become your student. Administrator says, if that's what you want, I won't refuse. Sungyun thinks, White Crane Swordmaster is a challenger who has climbed higher than the 40th floor. There's no reason to refuse the teachings of someone that's strong. Administrator says, but don't regret it later on. Sungyun says, are you planning on treating me so roughly I'll regret it later? Like with a whip. Administrator says, no. A master is usually something you only have once in your life. When it comes to Muram, so I'm telling you not to regret it. If you're worried about that, then I definitely won't regret it. Sungyun thinks, who in Muram would I even follow as a master? Administrator says, then according to procedure, I will officially introduce myself before you do your bows. I am the 17th Lord of the Beck Swordsmanship clan. The previous generation's strongest Muram fighter. Sungyun says, that is the description of the martial artist WH will become your master, Bexiolwa. Sungyun thinks, strongest Muram fighter. To briefly summarize the theory, it's like this. Martial arts is broadly divided into mental arts and bodily arts. Mental arts are techniques that refine the outward magic power to the inner parts of your body, and after that refinement process, the stored magic power is called internal energy. Bodily arts are techniques that utilize your body, and there are weightless body techniques and sword arts that correspond to how you move. All of this is what martial arts is. There are even martial arts that you can do by just using special mental arts energy. But, while listening to these explanations, a question formed. Is heavenly blood cultivation art also a mental art? Sungyun says, I have something I'm curious about. Is there no problem even if I have a different mental art I already learned? Administrator says, what did you just say? You have a mental art you know. Administrator says, explain in more detail. Quickly. Sungyun says, so, after listening to your explanation, I think I know something that's similar to a mental art. She says, similar. Perhaps. Did you learn aura training? From that woman, iron-blooded monarch. Sungyun thinks, aura training. Is that another world's concept of mental arts? Sungyun says, no, not that. Administrator says, she's not someone who would break a promise like this. I can't trust her, let me properly check. Administrator says, when? No, before that. Excuse me, master. Administrator says, be quiet for a moment. But there are no traces of you having learned any mental arts when I get rid of the pure magic power. Sungyun says, that, an authority that was sponsored by an admin called, Fallen Heir of the, something or other from the 12th floor. Sungyun says, there are 3 people ahead of you. And I've used it often since my combat senses are enhanced when heavenly blood cultivation art is activated. Administrator says, that's an authority, not a mental art. Of course, it seems that the mental art that you learned in your lifetime has mixed with the authority, but you can't consider that a mental art. Sungyun says, I see. But master, can we get out of this awkward position for now? She says, I apologize, I was so surprised that I checked it crudely. Sungyun says, but it's fine. She says, but I don't like it. That a mongrel of the blood cult would sponsor such a lowly mental art as an authority. Sungyun says, I think I need to adjust my assessment of White Crane Sword Master. Now that I think of it, it might be better that you didn't learn a mental art. She says, you can accumulate magic power even without learning a mental art. And if you learn multiple mental arts through authorities, you can use them interchangeably. Sungyun says, is that okay? Administrator says, it's fine because my martial arts don't rely too heavily on mental arts. However, what happened just now is because mental arts are important when it comes to the master-student relationship. First, I'll teach you swordsmanship, so try to copy me. Sungyun says, okay. System says, skill fighting concentration activated. User's concentration has risen by 10x. She starts OT perform her sword technique. Sungyun thinks, I've only seen her being gentle, so I didn't know. Sungyun says, but she really is a martial artist, she was super combative earlier too. Administrator says, I will now show you the first basic move of my sword arts, White Sword 7 techniques, White Sword Flashing C. Sungyun is watching her. She says, you might not have seen it properly. I apologize, this is the minimum speed for White Sword Flashing C. Sungyun says, it's okay. I think I'll be able to copy it. Sungyun thinks, it feels like you can't avoid the space itself, so you pull it towards you and then cut it. Sungyun performs the technique and thinks, something like this. He says, I tried my best to copy it, did I get it right? She is really surprised and says, this makes no sense. There have been geniuses in every generation. These people have an innate ability to absorb information and can achieve much bigger accomplishments than other people. Geniuses show the peak of ability by understanding, judging, and absorbing other. However, a genius can only demonstrate their true ability after some practice. But, is this correct? She is really surprised and says, what in the, to see White Sword Flashing C just once and copy it. She says, Sungyun, it seems you don't understand how incredible this is. White Sword 7 techniques is a martial art that uses harder principles than the Blue Heaven sword forms, which Namgong Hyuk uses. Sungyun says, Blue Heaven sword forms. She says, the two basic moves you copied from the Namgong clan, Blue Heaven Shining Sword and Blue Heaven Rain Sword are a part of the Blue Heaven sword forms. Sungyun says, is it a bundle of skills that Namgong Hyuk used to use? She says, not to mention, it surpasses the basic principles like fast and slow that the Blue Heaven sword form uses. And is a bodily art that uses difficult principles that consider space itself. She says, but you immediately copied White Sword Flashing C like it was nothing. And after only seeing it once, and a standard quite similar to the original. Principles of fast and slow don't mean much to me. She says, you are a genius of intuition. I've never even heard of grasping skills based on seeing the essence itself, rather than through experience or judgment. Even if you says that, I don't really understand what you mean. One day. It means that you can learn the majority of martial arts in one day. Normally, martial arts are understood and recreated by having a book as the basis for each one. However, you don't need the book's analysis. You just need to watch and copy them. However, I will let you know how to use magic power. Bodily arts, fist techniques, weightless body techniques, and even grappling techniques. I learned all I could. And the most useful thing out of all of that was the sword arts, White Sword 7 techniques. White Sword Flashing C, where you hold space itself and cut, making it basically impossible to dodge. White Sword Piercing Sky, a strong stabbing technique that is specialized to penetrate shields. White Sword Folded Emptiness, a defense skill that distorts the space near the air. She starts to clap for him. He says, I've learned a lot thanks to you, Master. He says, Master. She says, ahem, what a relief that you think so. Sungyun says, then, I'll take my leave. Administrator says, already. He says, I'll come back again later. Stay safe until then, Master. She says, okay, you have strength too, Sungyun. If you devote yourself as much as you're talented, you'll quickly improve. System says, you have entered the 14th floor waiting room. He thinks I've learned a lot. He thinks, although it's a shame that I couldn't learn all 7 techniques at my current level. He gets Demon Slayer rank B+. He thinks, the Demon Slayer skill. Although it's a swordsmanship technique that I've used well and developed with thus far. It's now too lacking for Namgong Hyuk's Blue Heaven sword forms or Master's White Sword 7 techniques. I'll make a skill using the Authority, Path of the Blade Master. He thinks, Authority, Path of the Blade Master rank S. Description, among those who fall under the contradiction of getting stronger to survive and living to get stronger. This is an authority that those who use swords occasionally get. You can develop an independent skill in regard to swords, and it becomes easier to manifest independent enlightenment. System says, Authority Iron-Blooded Sword, activated. Skill Fighting Concentration activated. Using Blue Heaven sword forms and White Sword forms and White Sword 7 techniques is dual blade swordsmanship. has made it more complete than before. But it's still too lacking to be developed as a skill. Administrator says, to develop a skill, it needs to be a system that will be acknowledged as a skill. He thinks, okay. Using White Sword 7 techniques is the base and making it so that I can weave in the Blue Heaven sword forms whenever I want. At the same time, I can't give up the concept that the attacks within dual blade swordsmanship are the best defense. He thinks, countless cuts enter the air, and countless thoughts pass and repeat in your head. And, system says, authority path of the Blade Master, has strongly activated. Skill first mixed sword rank A- activated. A skill window appears saying, skill first mixed sword rank A-. Proficiency 0%. Description, a sword art developed by combining the White Sword 7 techniques and the Blue Heaven sword's forms. Basic effect, when you use a sword, additional revisions will be stacked onto the basic moves of White Sword 7 techniques and Blue Heaven sword forms, and the quality of the basic moves will increase. Detailed effect, when using dual blade swordsmanship, a part of the White Sword 7 technique's basic moves attack speed and power will increase by 2x. Sungyun thinks, a skill really manifested. Sungyun says, but, while I like that there are several revisions, it's a bit lackluster. Inventory. The 13th floor trails reward. System says, random skill book A+. A skill book that allows you to obtain 1B+ ranked skill randomly upon use. It is an item that only the challenger can use, and you cannot transfer it to someone else. Sungyun says, let's try using it. There's nothing to lose. System says, you have used random skill book rank A+ and acquired a random rank B+ ranked skill. Authority Hero's Blessing strongly activating. Your luck will temporarily increase strongly. Skill Blood Spirit Demon Sword rank B+. Activated. Skill Blood Spirit Demon Sword rank B+, proficiency 0%. Description, a secret sword art that only the heir of the Blood Demon cult can learn. Basic effect, when you use a sword the demon attribute will be granted to the blade and it will have a harmful effect on all living creatures. Detailed effect, when using the basic moves of the skill, the exclusive effect 2 consecutive hits will activate and the basic moves will be 2x more effective. He thinks a bit more. System says, unique authority skill synthesis activated. Skill first mixed sword has started to synthesize as the center. Authority Hero's Blessing activated strongly. Your luck will temporarily increase strongly. Skill synthesis complete. You have manifested a new skill. System says, skill first mixed demon sword rank S- manifested. Sungyun goes through the gate and system says, beginning 14th floor trial. Difficulty hard. The current trial's topic is underwater warfare. Time remaining, 7 days. Trial pass conditions, hunt all of the monster inside of the lake within the given time. Trial fail conditions, death of the challenger or remaining time ending. Trial pass rewards, boots of the wind spirit rank A+. Trail fail penalty, death. Sungyun activates skill Indomitable will activated. Namgong says, how much longer are you planning on making this young lord wait? You didn't come looking for me even after I killed all these monsters, so I thought I came here by mistake. Namgong Hyuk. Namgong Hyuk gets really excited to see Sungyun. Sungyun also gets excited. And system says, skill instant acceleration activated. Skill fighting concentration activated. Skill wind's grace activated. All speed increased by 70%. Current skills tack progress 7/7. The exclusive effect of fast boots rank C+ is increasing your instantaneous speed. The 6th part of the Boundless Necromancer ends here. Please subscribe and like. And if you want me support financially, you can join my Patreon only for $1. Patreon and Discord links are in the description if you want support me. And a special thanks to all my Patreons for supporting me. Thanks for watching.